walk into Walmart. You walk into Kroger. You buy the same brands you've always bought, and you assume that's just what food is supposed to taste like. But there is a small German discounter quietly making a fool out of both of those companies, one grocery bag at a time. We tested, compared, and obsessed over the products, and today we are counting down 9 Aldi items so good they make the big box giants look like they're not even trying. Stick around, because number 1 is the item Aldi shoppers guard like a family secret. Number 9. The chocolate that embarrassed every domestic candy bar. Walk down the candy aisle at Kroger, and you'll find the same handful of mass-market chocolate bars that have barely changed in decades. They are familiar, convenient, and recognizable from years of television commercials and flashy checkout displays. They are fine, but fine is about where the praise ends. Most of those bars are built for shelf life, not flavor. They are formulated to survive months in warehouses, long-haul truck rides across the country, and warm store shelves without melting or changing texture. That means relying on cheaper ingredients, extra sugar, and fillers that create a smooth appearance while sacrificing the rich cocoa flavor chocolate lovers are actually looking for. The manufacturers know most shoppers are buying out of habit rather than comparing ingredients. Brand recognition often wins before taste even gets a chance. Aldi quietly plays a completely different game. Instead of competing with billion-dollar advertising campaigns, it focuses on what ends up inside the wrapper. Much of Aldi's private label chocolate is imported directly from Europe, where chocolate standards are generally stricter and recipes typically contain a higher percentage of cocoa solids and cocoa butter. The result is chocolate that melts more smoothly, delivers a richer cocoa flavor, and avoids the waxy texture that many inexpensive candy bars develop. That difference becomes obvious the moment you compare the labels. Rather than relying heavily on vegetable oils and excess sugar to stretch production costs, Aldi's recipes prioritize the ingredients that actually make chocolate taste like chocolate. You are getting a fuller, creamier bite instead of a bar that's mostly sweetness with just enough cocoa to color it brown. Shoppers consistently rave about varieties like the sea salt caramel, hazelnut, dark chocolate almond, and milk chocolate bars, with many saying they taste surprisingly similar to premium European brands that sell for 2 or 3 times the price. Blind taste tests shared online frequently place Aldi's chocolate ahead of much more expensive grocery store favorites, leaving people shocked when they discover which bar costs less. The value becomes even more impressive during the holiday season. Aldi's chocolate advent calendars, festive truffle collections, and seasonal gift boxes disappear from shelves almost as quickly as they arrive. Regular shoppers know to buy them early because waiting until December often means they're completely sold out. Social media groups and online forums fill with shoppers asking which locations still have inventory or sharing tips about new seasonal flavors they managed to find. That kind of excitement doesn't happen because something is merely cheap. Plenty of inexpensive candy sits untouched on store shelves every year. Products sell out that quickly because customers genuinely enjoy them and know they'll have to wait months before they return. Aldi has quietly built a loyal following without relying on celebrity endorsements or multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns. There's also a supply chain reason these bars taste the way they do, and it has very little to do with luck. Aldi works with established European chocolatiers that already produce chocolate to meet local expectations instead of asking manufacturers to create watered-down recipes specifically designed to hit the lowest possible price point. Buying directly and in enormous volumes allows Aldi to keep costs low, while preserving recipes that emphasize cocoa rather than cheap fillers. That means the sugar-to-cocoa ratio stays much closer to traditional European chocolate than the sweeter, more diluted formulas commonly found in many American candy bars. The richer cocoa content creates a deeper flavor, while the higher cocoa butter percentage gives each bite that smooth melt premium chocolate is known for. In other words, you're often buying the kind of chocolate someone might pick up during a grocery trip in Europe, except you're paying an Aldi price instead of an imported specialty store price. It's one of those rare grocery items where spending less doesn't necessarily mean settling for less. But as surprising as Aldi's chocolate story is, it isn't even the store's most impressive food bargain. The next item follows the exact same philosophy of sourcing better ingredients instead of spending more on branding. And it's probably sitting in your kitchen almost every single day. The difference is that most shoppers walk right past it without realizing they're missing one of the best values in the entire store. That's waiting quietly in reason number 8. Number 8. The peanut butter. That quietly outsold the national brand. Peanut butter seems impossible to mess up, so most people never even consider switching brands. It has been the same jar on the same shelf for their entire life, and brand loyalty here runs deeper than almost any other product in the store. But Aldi's creamy peanut butter has developed a cult following for one simple reason. It is made with fewer stabilizers and a higher peanut content than the leading national brand, which means it tastes more like actual roasted peanuts and less like flavored oil. Side-by-side taste tests consistently show shoppers picking the Aldi jar over the name brand, and they are usually shocked when you tell them the price difference. Walmart's shelf is dominated by brand loyalty and decades of advertising. Aldi's shelf is dominated by whichever jar actually tastes the best, and that is exactly why it wins. What is wild about the peanut butter is how it exposes the entire pricing strategy of a traditional grocery store. When a product category has almost no room for innovation, the only way a national brand can justify its markup is through marketing spend and shelf placement, not through the actual jar. Aldi simply refuses to play along with that game, and the customer ends up with a better product for less money without even realizing why. The natural version of the peanut butter line has become even more of a talking point because it separates less than a lot of competing natural jars on the market, meaning less of that annoying oil layer floating on top when you open it. Home cooks have started using it as a base for sauces and baked goods, specifically because the consistency behaves more predictably than pricier natural brands that separate into an oily mess within a week of opening. That refusal to play the marketing game on something as basic as peanut butter is exactly the same instinct that drives one of Aldi's most surprising sections in the entire store. A section that traditional supermarkets have turned into their biggest cash grab, which we are exposing in reason number 7. Quick pause before we keep going. If you are enjoying seeing these products get exposed one by one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because reasons 7 through 1 are about to get a lot more surprising. Number 7. The cheese board that makes Kroger's deli counter look overpriced. Traditional grocery stores love to charge specialty prices for anything with the word artisan printed on the label. Walk into Kroger's specialty cheese section, and it's easy to find small wedges of imported brie, Gouda, cheddar, or Manchego, selling for $8, $9, sometimes even $12. The presentation alone is designed to make those prices feel justified. Everything sits behind a carefully arranged deli counter with rustic signs, wooden display boards, and descriptions highlighting where the cheese was made. Shoppers naturally assume that if it comes from a staffed specialty counter, it must be worth paying extra for. The reality is that a significant portion of what you're paying for isn't necessarily better cheese. You're also paying for the extra labor, the elaborate displays, refrigerated service counters, additional packaging, and the overhead that comes with maintaining an entire specialty department. Those costs eventually find their way onto the price tag. Aldi approaches the category from a completely different angle. Instead of investing heavily in presentation, it focuses almost entirely on sourcing. Its premium cheese selection includes products imported from many of the same well-known European regions that supply far more expensive grocery chains. By selling them under its own private label and displaying them in simple refrigerated cases instead of full-service deli counters, Aldi removes many of the costs that traditional supermarkets pass on to customers. The result is a lineup that consistently surprises first-time buyers. Shoppers regularly report that the creamy brie, rich aged Gouda, sharp white cheddar, and bold blue cheese crumbles compete surprisingly well with cheeses costing 2 or 3 times as much elsewhere. Many people who initially purchase them just to save money end up buying them again simply because they enjoy the flavor. It's the exact same private label strategy that helped build Aldi's reputation, now applied directly to one of the most expensive sections of a traditional grocery store. The seasonal selection takes things even further. Around the holidays, Aldi expands its cheese assortment with limited edition varieties that shoppers actively wait for every year. You'll often find cheeses infused with wine, herbs, truffles, garlic, or seasonal spices, along with wheels wrapped in colorful, edible rinds and specialty aging techniques that would normally be associated with upscale cheese boutiques. Despite the premium appearance, the prices often remain shockingly affordable compared to what similar products cost elsewhere. Those holiday releases have developed something of a cult following. Regular shoppers know they don't stay on shelves very long, and social media fills with photos of new arrivals and recommendations for the best flavors. Some customers even plan their entertaining menus around Aldi's seasonal cheese selection, because they know they can build an impressive spread without spending a small fortune. In fact, many people now create entire holiday charcuterie boards from a single Aldi shopping trip. What once required visits to a specialty cheese shop, a gourmet grocery store, and a traditional supermarket can often be accomplished in one stop while spending significantly less. Guests usually notice the presentation long before they realize where everything came from. Even Aldi's everyday cheeses have earned praise among people who cook regularly. Its block cheeses are appreciated for their flavor and consistency, while the shredded varieties perform surprisingly well in hot dishes. The mozzarella, in particular, is frequently singled out because it melts smoothly, stretches beautifully, and creates that classic cheese pull people expect on homemade pizza, baked pasta, and casseroles. Part of that difference comes down to processing. Many pre-shredded cheeses at traditional supermarkets contain heavier coatings of anti-caking agents to prevent the shreds from sticking together during storage. While effective for shelf stability, those additives can also interfere with melting, leaving cheese that separates or browns unevenly. Aldi's mozzarella is often praised for producing a smoother, creamier melt that more closely resembles freshly shredded cheese. It's another example of Aldi quietly competing on product quality rather than flashy marketing. Instead of convincing shoppers that premium food requires premium prices, the company lets sourcing do most of the work. When customers repeatedly discover that a discount grocer can outperform a fully staffed specialty deli, using little more than smart purchasing and efficient operations, it starts raising questions about how much of those traditional grocery prices were ever necessary in the first place. And if Aldi can shake up something as premium as imported cheese, imagine what happens when it applies that exact same strategy to a product category. Traditional supermarkets have spent decades convincing shoppers should always cost a premium. That's exactly where we're headed in reason number 6. Number 6, the wine that wine snobs refuse to admit they love. For years, the idea of buying wine at a discount grocery store was treated like a joke. Wine has always carried an image of exclusivity, built around elegant vineyards, prestigious regions, expensive labels, and the belief that a higher price automatically means a better bottle. Walk into most supermarkets and you'll find shelves carefully arranged to reinforce that idea, with premium bottles displayed under warm lighting and fancy signage that suggests spending more is the safest choice. Then Aldi entered the conversation, and that assumption started falling apart. Instead of trying to compete through flashy branding or celebrity endorsements, Aldi focused on the one thing that actually matters once the cork comes out: what's inside the bottle. Its private label wine collection quietly earned a reputation for delivering quality far beyond its price, surprising shoppers who expected little more than a cheap cooking wine. The reason comes down to Aldi's business model. Rather than paying for massive advertising campaigns or multiple layers of distributors, Aldi negotiates directly with vineyards and producers around the world, purchasing enormous volumes that allow it to secure lower prices. It then sells those wines under its own private labels, eliminating many of the costs that traditionally inflate the price of a bottle before it ever reaches a store shelf. That means you're paying far less for branding and far more for the wine itself. It's the same formula Aldi uses throughout the store. Walmart carries wine too, but its shelves are largely filled with the same nationally recognized labels found at nearly every other grocery chain, many carrying price tags boosted by years of marketing and brand recognition. Aldi approaches wine the way it approaches ketchup, pasta sauce, olive oil, or chocolate. Remove unnecessary middlemen, simplify the supply chain, maintain quality, and pass the savings directly to customers. The results have surprised even long-time wine enthusiasts. Shoppers who bought a bottle simply because it was inexpensive often report returning to buy entire cases after realizing the quality rivals bottles, selling for 2 or 3 times as much. For casual dinners, parties, holidays, or simply enjoying a glass after work, many customers say Aldi's wines consistently outperform what they expected from a discount grocer. But perhaps the strongest evidence comes from professional judging rather than customer reviews. Over the years, Aldi's private label wines have been entered into respected wine competitions where judges evaluate bottles completely blind. The tasters have no idea which winery produced the wine, what country it came from, or how much it costs. They're judging only what's in the glass. Time after time, Aldi's wines have earned medals and high rankings alongside and sometimes ahead of bottles carrying much higher price tags. Wines costing under $5 or $10 have stood shoulder to shoulder with bottles selling for several times that amount, proving that quality and price don't always move together. That's what makes blind tasting so fascinating. Once the label disappears, so does much of the psychology behind expensive wine. Without a recognizable vineyard name or luxury packaging influencing expectations, many people discover they simply enjoy the wine that tastes best, regardless of whether it costs $4 or $40. It's another reminder that price often reflects branding, distribution, and marketing just as much as craftsmanship. Aldi has built an entire business around questioning those assumptions, showing that a streamlined supply chain can deliver impressive quality without demanding premium prices. And that same illusion that expensive automatically means better is about to be challenged again in the next category. This time, however, it involves something most shoppers assume has to come fresh from a fully staffed seafood counter. That's exactly where we're headed in reason number 5. But before we get there, give this video a like if you're gaining maximum value so far. Number 5. The frozen seafood that beats the fresh counter. Most people assume the fish sitting in the fresh seafood case at Kroger must be superior to anything frozen. In reality, most of that fresh fish was frozen at sea and thawed for display days before you buy it, then marked up as a premium item to justify the theater of a manned seafood counter. Aldi's frozen seafood, particularly the salmon and shrimp lines, is flash frozen immediately after catch, which locks in freshness better than the thaw and display method traditional stores use. You are getting fish that is arguably fresher than the fresh counter, at roughly half the price, because Aldi skipped the theatrical seafood display entirely and shipped the product directly from ocean to freezer to your cart. The shrimp line in particular has developed a reputation among home cooks for consistent sizing and minimal ice glazing, meaning you are not paying seafood prices for a bag that is secretly 20% frozen water. That is a trick traditional supermarkets rarely get called out for because their seafood department has built its entire reputation on looking fresh rather than actually being fresher. Once you realize that looking premium and actually being high quality are two completely different things, it becomes impossible to unsee it in the rest of the store, especially in the one frozen category everybody secretly judges a grocery store by, which is exactly what we are digging into in reason number 4. Number 4. The frozen pizza that outperforms delivery. Frozen pizza has a reputation problem. Most people buy it out of convenience, not because they expect it to be good. It is the food equivalent of settling. Aldi's take and bake pizza line broke that assumption completely, since the dough is made fresh in-store rather than shipped frozen from a factory hundreds of miles away. Because that dough is made on site using the same cross-docked, high-turnover supply chain that keeps every Aldi shelf moving, the pizza tastes closer to something from a local pizzeria than anything in Kroger's frozen aisle. Shoppers regularly say it beats delivery pizza for a quarter of the price, and once you've had it, the frozen pizza aisle at a traditional grocery store starts to look like a sad consolation prize. There is also a psychological trick hiding in this category. Because the pizza is take and bake instead of fully frozen, your kitchen fills with the smell of it baking, which triggers the exact same craving response as a delivery box arriving at your door. Traditional frozen pizza never gets that advantage because it is designed to survive months in a freezer, not to smell like it just came out of a wood oven. That trick of engineering a better sensory experience for less money is not limited to pizza night. Aldi applies the same obsession to a beverage most people assume they need a monthly subscription box to get right. And that is exactly where we are going in reason number 3. Number 3. The coffee that made shoppers cancel their subscription service specialty. Coffee subscriptions can run you $15 to $20 a bag once you factor in shipping. And an entire industry has convinced people that good coffee requires a recurring monthly charge and a cute little box in the mail. Aldi's private label coffee line offers small batch style roasts, including single origin and flavored varieties, for a fraction of that price, and the quality gap has narrowed so much that entire online communities have formed just to rank the seasonal roasts against each other. Traditional supermarkets stock coffee the same way they stock everything else. Whatever national brand pays for the best shelf space and the biggest advertising budget. Aldi stocks coffee the way it stocks its wine and its cheese, by chasing the best possible product per dollar with zero regard for brand prestige or a flashy bag design. The seasonal pumpkin spice and peppermint mocha roasts in particular have become minor phenomena online, with people timing their Aldi trips around the seasonal restock the same way people used to camp out for a limited sneaker release. That is not the behavior of customers settling for a cheaper option. That is the behavior of customers who found something better and are terrified it will sell out. Coffee and wine and cheese all prove the same point. Aldi can win on taste in categories built entirely on prestige pricing. But the next category is different because it involves something people are told they have to pay a premium for in the name of their own health. And that is exactly the trap we are exposing in reason number 2. Number 2, the organic produce that undercuts the health food. Markup traditional grocery stores have learned that the word organic allows them to charge almost whatever they want, because health-conscious shoppers are trained to expect a steep markup as the cost of taking care of themselves. Kroger's organic produce section often costs 30 to 50% more than conventional produce, sitting 3 feet away, and most shoppers simply accept it as the price of being healthy. Aldi's organic produce line applies the exact same volume buying leverage that built the rest of the store to organic farming. Because Aldi commits to enormous guaranteed purchase volumes from organic growers, they can offer certified organic fruits and vegetables at prices that are often barely more than conventional produce at a traditional store. The health tax that funds Kroger's marketing and its glossy in-store signage gets eliminated entirely. This matters more than it sounds like on the surface because it removes the financial excuse that keeps a lot of families out of the organic aisle in the first place. When eating healthier stops requiring a premium budget, it stops being a lifestyle reserved for people with extra money to spend. And that shift alone has quietly made Aldi one of the most important organic grocers in the country without anyone really noticing it happened. Every single item on this list so far, the chocolate, the peanut butter, the cheese, the wine, the seafood, the pizza, the coffee, and the produce, has been building toward one final category. It is the one product where the markup at a traditional store is the most extreme, and it is the one Aldi shoppers are the most reluctant to talk about, which brings us to reason number 1. Number 1, the protein powder that bodybuilders don't want you to know about. This is the one Aldi shoppers genuinely do not want to talk about because they do not want the secret to spread. Aldi's private label whey protein has quietly become one of the most talked about budget finds in online fitness communities, with users comparing its macros and taste favorably against protein powders costing 3 to 4 times as much at specialty supplement stores, let alone a traditional grocery store. Because supplement brands spend enormous amounts of money on athlete endorsements, flashy packaging, and gym sponsorships, you are paying for marketing every single time you buy a name brand tub off a traditional shelf. Aldi strips all of that away and sells you the protein itself, at the protein's actual cost. It's the same private label philosophy that built the entire company, applied to the exact aisle where markup runs the highest of any category in this entire list. Fitness forums have quietly turned this into one of the most requested restock items in the whole store, with people driving to multiple locations just to stock up before a flavor gets discontinued. That kind of loyalty does not happen for a product people are settling for. It happens for a product that genuinely competes with items costing multiple times more, sold by companies that spend more on their marketing budget than they do on the actual protein inside the tub. That is the list. 9 items, and in every single case the story is exactly the same. Aldi is not cutting corners, it is cutting the marketing, the middlemen, and the markup, and handing those savings straight to you. Which one of these are you trying on your next Aldi run? Let us know down in the comments. And if you want to see exactly which traditional grocery store labels are hiding fake health claims, click the video on the left. Don't forget to subscribe for more grocery secrets.